In this lesson, we are going to learn how to work with text frames and graphics frames to create your layout. If you'd like to do the exercise with me, feel free to open the frames.indd file that you'll find in the Chapter 4 files. This file contains 6 pages. The first page doesn't have any columns and the other pages do. Let's talk about how to get things like text and graphics into your InDesign document. Well, there's a number of different ways and a number of different options to consider when bringing things in. Two of the most typical ways that you're going to bring things in is to create a frame first. If you're going to bring in a graphic, you'll go here to the Tools panel, and most of the time you're going to draw out a rectangle frame and then place a graphic inside the frame. If you're going to be bringing in copy, maybe from a Word document or another source, you'll create a text frame with the Type tool. Let's start by bringing in a graphic. Let's select the rectangle frame tool, and somewhere over on page 1, we'll create a frame. A graphics frame has an X through it. Now you could put text in here, or you could create a text frame and put graphics in it, either one. But just to keep things organized and flowing the way they should, we'll add graphics to graphics frames and text to text frames. Alright, so our graphics frame is still selected, and let's go to the File menu and go down to Place. Very good shortcut I use all the time. I'm on a PC, so it's Control D. On a Mac, it's Command D, and that's a great shortcut for placing in files. Now you can place in just about anything. You could place in a Photoshop file, you could place in JPEGs, or whatever else you want. Now when you find the file that you want to go with, maybe let's just go with dog.jpg. Before you add this file, we're on a PC, so we'll see the Open button here. Always take a look down at the left at some of your options. A couple of those options you'll need to choose are right here. We're going to turn off Show Import Options because we're bringing in a JPEG, okay? If I were bringing in a Photoshop file or another kind of file and I was maybe need to look through a couple different layers, I could show Import Options. That's going to give us another dialog box of options to choose from. So we'll just turn that off for now. Replace selected items. Well, if I had something in the frame already that I wanted to get rid of, I could leave this on. In our case, it really doesn't matter. So we'll just leave it on and click Open. Because it was on, you're going to see that the graphic that we selected is automatically filled in our frame. Let's grab the Selection tool, and now let's talk about the content inside of the frame. When you hover over a frame that has a graphic, you're going to see this little round thing in the middle. That's called the Content Indicator. That lets you select and manipulate the content that's inside of the frame. If you click one time on that, you're going to see the bounding box appear, and that's in a different color. If we needed to move the image around, we could easily do that with our content indicator selected, right? Well, if we deselect, we'll just click over in the pasteboard. Let's try that again. To modify the image, hover right over the content indicator, and when you click on the content indicator, you see a different color frame, and then you can move or resize your image. Let's hold down the Shift key and pull in one of our corners to resize our image, and we'll just continue to move that around until we get it exactly like we want it, and then deselect. Alright, well, you don't have to create a frame first to bring in an image. You can simply go to File, Place, and do it kind of on the fly. I'm on a PC, so I'm going to go to Control D. And now let's find another object. Maybe lizard.jpg looks good. Let's click Open, and you're going to notice that your cursor is loaded up and ready to go. Well, let's scroll down to maybe the second page, and if you click one time, well, your image is going to just come onto the page as large as it is. So let's try that. Little bit too large, right? Let's do a Control Z, and notice that our cursor is loaded up again. And this time, let's click and drag, and we can actually adjust the size right as we are inserting our image. Alright, and now we can deselect. Well, that works for images for now. Let's talk about creating a text frame. Let's grab the Text tool, and we can draw out a frame maybe here in column 2. Now I'm going to hold down my space bar temporarily because my frame isn't exactly where I need it to be, so I'll just hold down my space bar to reposition as I'm dragging. Now notice that our cursor is inside of our new frame, and now the same thing, but this time instead of placing an image, we'll place text. Let's do a Control D, and we'll look in our Chapter 4 files and find Big City Info. And notice that when we double click, our text goes right inside our frame. Now, if you can't see the text, it's probably because we've zoomed out and we need to zoom in a little bit. So let's grab our magnifying glass and maybe click a couple times on our workspace. And now we can actually see the text populate. Well, we know that we have a problem because we see our overset text. Do you have to draw a frame? Just like with images, you really don't. You can actually flow your text on the fly. Let's see how that works. I'm going to do a Control- real quick just to zoom back out a little bit. Let's go up to the View menu and let's select Entire Pasteboard. And now we can deal with our overset text. Let's grab our selection tool, click here to load up our cursor with the overset text, and then just click and drag to deal with the text. And InDesign creates a frame for us on the fly. So we have two ways to insert our text and graphics. One is to create a frame first, and the other way is to create a frame on the fly, whether it's a graphics frame or a text frame.